bank bailouts had started, and all of these things that you guys are seeing, it's happening, it's unfolding right now. All of it is by design. Nothing happens just because. So just very quickly, I wanted to tell you guys what's going on so you guys have a better understanding where we are headed. So SVB Bank collapsed. We all know about that. And then Signature Bank collapsed. We all know about that. So the Federal Reserve, they came and they said that what we're going to do, whatever the uninsured money is there, we're going to make it whole. We're going to pay to people, right? Okay. So I made a video a few weeks back and I said that why you guys have to take your money out of the institutions and banks, because there's a lot of problems and FDIC is broke. So let me tell you what's going on step by step. FDIC, go check out in their own website. FDIC, at this moment that I'm talking to you guys right now, they have $125 billion in assets, supposedly to cover all the people that they have money in the bank. And if the banks are FDIC insured, up to $250,000, it's insured, right? FDIC, $125 billion, it is 1% of the entire deposits that are in the United States. 1%. So imagine that right now the banks are failing. SVB was the 16th largest bank, vanished, right? So there is a graph that came out of Apollo Academy. It says in that graph that small banks account for 30% of all loans in United States. 30%. Now, in the same graph, it shows that there are about 34 banks that are about to fail. 34 banks that are about to fail. As a matter of fact, today they were talking about First Republic Bank, which First Republic Bank, according to the report, Moody has already downgraded them as a junk. So understand this, that the banking is collapsing. So what is the next step? Check this out. The next step is Janet Yellen and Fed, they came a couple of days ago, they said, okay, if these two banks, they failed, we're going to go ahead and bail them out. Between SVB, between Signature Bank, they had to bail out $270 billion. $270 billion. Okay, some of it was insured, some of it was uninsured. Now, Federal Reserve, they just announced that they opened a new facility. Check this out. The biggest scam of the century. Federal Reserve, they opened this new facility called Bank Term Funding Program. Bank Term Funding Program for all the banks that they're in trouble. And this is what they say. So if you are a bank, you are broke, you bankrupt, you can get a loan up to 1 year from Federal Reserve. In return, as a collateral, you can give me your bonds, your securities, your mortgage-backed securities. You can give me your bonds, even though none of them worth anything, but whatever the actual price is, I'm going to give it to you. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you have a house, and your house last year, it worth $1 million. Okay? Today, your house worth only $500,000. But you need money. You need $500,000. You need $500,000. You had a house worth $1 million. Your house is worth only $500,000. But you need $500,000. So you walk into Bank of America and you say, Mr. Bank of America, my house worth $1 million, it's worth only $500,000, but I want $1 million loan. And the Bank of America says, okay, you're a very nice guy. Here's $1 million for 1 year. Do you guys understand what's happening right now? Federal Reserve is giving loan to banks, and all the assets that they had no value is giving them the full value and giving him a loan for 1 year. 34 banks, they're about to collapse. Federal Reserve has come up with this new facility to give him a loan. In Europe, yesterday, Credit Suisse Bank, it's failing. SVB in Europe was bought by HSBC Bank for $1.25. So this is what's happening. You see, no lunch is for free. In 2020, when the pandemic came, we told the banks, Federal Reserve government told people, stay home, we'll give you money. So what happens? People, they had money, they didn't earn it, but they just got money. And the housing price went up, stock market went up, crypto went up, everything went up, right? And then they start tightening and they start taking the money out of the system. But if you notice, while we were in pandemic, while they told everyone to stay home, you know what happened? Amazon grew, it was gigantic, it got even bigger and bigger and bigger. All the companies like Amazon, Walmart, Target, all these companies, they were gigantic, they got even bigger. Amazon in 2020, they had roughly about 800,000 employees. Amazon, up to a couple of months ago, had 1.6 million employees. Their income was astronomical, how much money they have made. What does this show? When you look at this whole situation, ask yourself, what does this show? All these failures of the banks are by design. Nothing happens just because. If Janet Yellen and Fed, that they lie, they come and say this was very localized and nothing to worry about, everything is fine and dandy, then, you know what? They want to make sure that people, ordinary people, they want to tell people that you guys are stupid, you don't understand what's going on. Let me ask you something. If this was isolated incident, SVB Bank and Signature Bank, ask yourself, why Federal Reserve, they open a new facility and giving all these failing banks loan up to 1 year, and they're buying they're taking collateral for all the assets that has no value? Ask yourself. Very simple question. If this is isolated, this is not isolated. It's been months, I'm telling all of you, this is a crash of all the assets. Who creates the assets? Who creates the crashes? Central banks. Who creates all this banking failure? Central banks. Why? Because their ultimate goal from all of this is this. If 30% of all the loans are given by small banks and they make money, they make profit. If today, as a big bank, central bank, if we wanted to get rid of all these banks, so only 4 of us, we control the entire banking system. It's a monopoly. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, all part of central bank, right? In 2020, pre-pandemic, banks, they were supposed to have about 10 to 20% deposit, cash deposit as a backup in their account. In other words, if the Bank of America received $1 million of deposits, cash, they had to hold on to about $100,000 to $200,000. So if people, they go and start withdrawing money, they don't go broke, they don't collapse. Pandemic comes, the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, says, you don't need any reserve. Forget about the reserve, zero. You don't need reserve. Do you know what happens? So when you don't have reserve, that means you can do whatever you want. Then you become reckless. Then you do things that is out of ordinary. So today, what all of you guys see here and Europe, one bank after another bank starts collapsing, and Janet Yellen and Federal Reserve, they come and say, you know, we're the good people, we're the good guys. What we're going to do is we are going to bail them out. We're not going to bail the banks out, we're going to bail people out. But ask yourself, FDIC has got 125 billion. There is more than almost 2 trillion in deposits in US banks. How are they going to bail out all these people? They already spend between Signature Bank and SVB about 250, 270 billion. There was discrepancy. So now 34 banks, their balance sheet is upside down. How many banks do you think, in your opinion, they are going to bail out? How many banks do you think they can bail out? So all of this is by design. They are getting rid of all the small banks, that eventually they're going to be only 4 banks. These 4 banks, they're going to control the entire banking system, because that's the goal of central bank. Understand this, Federal Reserve, it's not federal nor it's reserve. It's a bunch of central bank trillionaires and billionaires that they control the banking system, and ultimately they control people. This is all about control. So you see all these banks are failing, more to come. You're going to see more and more of these problems, and there will be a point that all these banks within a year, they're going to collapse. And what's going to happen? JP Morgan, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Citibank, they're going to own all the banks. In a few years from now, you're going to have only 4 banks. That's it. You can't have any other banks. So, again, I'm telling you guys, watch out for your money. You can buy gold, you can buy silver, you can transfer your money to brokerage accounts, because they have much better and safer position as far as your cash. So you can protect yourself, you can protect your money, your investments, so you be safe. I hope you guys have a great day, great week, and as always, good luck.